There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes not from being alone, but from being surrounded by people who cannot see you. You stand in crowded rooms, you smile, you nod, you participate in the theater of social interaction, and yet some part of you remains untouched, unreached, like a lighthouse standing on a distant shore that no ship seems to sail toward. If you have felt this, if you have ever wondered why connection feels so achingly difficult, even when you are so deeply committed to understanding others, then perhaps you are what the world of personality psychology calls an INFJ. The INFJ personality is often described as the rarest of all the personality types, making up perhaps 1 to 2% of the population. But rarity is not what makes this experience significant. What matters is the particular architecture of the inner life, the specific way an INFJ moves through the world, perceiving, feeling, and making meaning. Tonight, I want to walk with you through 10 signs that you might be an INFJ, not as a clinical checklist, but as a mirror held up to your own experience, so that you might recognize yourself more clearly and feel a little less alone in the peculiar beauty of how you see. First, you feel the emotions of others as though they were weather systems moving through your own body. This is not merely sympathy or kindness. This is something more immediate and often more overwhelming. You walk into a room and you know without anyone speaking that something is wrong. You can sense the tension between two people like a string pulled too tight. You absorb the unspoken sadness of a stranger on the train. This is empathy at a level that goes beyond conscious choice. It is intuition operating through your emotional body, reading invisible signals, sensing what is beneath the surface of social presentation. The INFJ personality is marked by what psychologists call high emotional intelligence, but that phrase hardly captures the experience. It is more like being a radio receiver tuned to frequencies that most people do not even know exist. You pick up on micro-expressions, on the slight hesitation before someone answers, on the way energy shifts when certain topics arise. And because you feel so much, you often find yourself exhausted after social interactions. Not because you dislike people, but because you have been holding space for everyone else's inner weather while trying to manage your own. Second, you are a deep thinker who cannot tolerate shallow conversation for long. Small talk feels like walking through a beautiful forest and being asked to discuss only the color of the dirt. You can do it. You have learned how to do it well, in fact, but it drains you in a way that meaningful conversation never does. You crave discussions about purpose, about the philosophy of self, about what it means to live a life that matters. You want to know not just what people do, but why they do it, what they believe, what keeps them awake at night, what they hope for when no one is watching. This is not arrogance or pretension. This is the natural orientation of the INFJ mind. You are wired to search for depth, to look beneath surfaces, to find the patterns that connect disparate things into a coherent whole. You are the person who asks the unexpected question at dinner that suddenly shifts the entire conversation into something real. And while this makes you a treasured friend to those who appreciate such things, it can also make you feel alienated in a culture that often values speed and superficiality over substance and reflection. Third, you have a rich and vivid inner world that feels more real to you than the outer one sometimes. If someone could see inside your mind, they would find entire landscapes. There are conversations you have had with people who do not exist, scenarios you have played out in detail, imagined futures both beautiful and terrible. You rehearse interactions before they happen. You replay moments from the past, examining them from different angles like a jeweler studying a stone. This is not idle daydreaming. This is the INFJ process of intuition at work, running simulations, exploring possibilities, trying to understand the deeper significance of experience. As an introvert, you do not merely tolerate solitude. You require it the way others require air. Time alone is not simply rest. It is where you become yourself again. It is where you process everything you have absorbed from the world, where you sift through the emotions and impressions and try to make meaning from them. Without this time, you begin to feel fragmented, unmoored, as though you are losing track of who you actually are beneath all the roles you play for others. Fourth, you see potential in people that they do not yet see in themselves. You meet someone and within a short time, you have a sense of who they could become. You see beyond their current circumstances, beyond their self-doubt or their protective walls, to something essential and beautiful that they have perhaps forgotten or never fully recognized. This is the gift of the INFJ intuition, this ability to perceive the deeper pattern, the hidden wholeness waiting to emerge. But this gift comes with a shadow. You can become so invested in someone's potential that you overlook who they actually are right now. You pour energy into relationships, believing that if you just love someone well enough, understand them deeply enough, hold space patiently enough, they will transform into the person you see shimmering beneath the surface. And sometimes this happens. Sometimes you do help people grow in ways they never thought possible. But sometimes you exhaust yourself trying to water a garden that someone else is not ready to tend. Fifth, you have a powerful sense of purpose, even if you are still searching for what it is. From a young age, you have felt that you are here for something, not just to exist, not just to get by, but to contribute something meaningful, to leave the world somehow different than you found it. This is not grandiosity. This is the deep need for purpose that characterizes the INFJ personality. You cannot settle for a life that feels empty of significance. You would rather struggle in pursuit of something meaningful than succeed at something that feels hollow. This search for meaning can be both a compass and a burden. It drives you toward personal growth, toward self-discovery, toward finding meaning in life even in difficult circumstances. But it can also make you restless, dissatisfied, always feeling that you should be doing more, being more, contributing more. You measure yourself not against external markers of success, but against an internal standard of authenticity and purpose that is often impossibly high. Sixth, you are a walking contradiction, and you have made peace with it mostly. You are deeply private, yet you long for intimate connection. You are idealistic, yet you see clearly the darkness and dysfunction in the world. You are gentle, yet you have a backbone of steel when your values are threatened. You are a dreamer, yet you are also surprisingly practical when you need to be. These contradictions are not signs of confusion. They are signs of complexity, of a personality that holds multiple truths at once without needing to collapse them into false simplicity. The INFJ personality contains what the poet Walt Whitman called multitudes. You understand that people are not one thing, that life is not one way, that truth is often found in the tension between opposites rather than in choosing sides. This makes you empathetic, capable of holding space for nuance and ambiguity in a world that often demands certainty. But it can also make you feel misunderstood, as though no one quite grasps the full picture of who you are. Seventh, you have incredibly high standards, especially for yourself. You do not just want to be good at things, you want to be excellent. You do not just want to help people, you want to truly make a difference. You do not just want relationships, you want connections that are deep, authentic, and transformative. This drive toward excellence is part of what makes you capable of profound personal growth. You are always refining yourself, always learning, always trying to become a better version of who you were yesterday. But perfectionism has its costs. You are often your own harshest critic. You replay mistakes long after others have forgotten them. You feel guilty for needing rest, for having limitations, for being human. You hold yourself to standards that you would never impose on anyone else, and this can lead to burnout, to a chronic sense of not being enough, to a weariness that comes from never quite allowing yourself to simply be. Eighth, you can predict how situations will unfold with unsettling accuracy. You walk into a new job and you know somehow which colleagues will become problems and which will become allies. You meet someone your friend is dating and you sense, without being able to fully articulate why, that this will not end well. You watch decisions being made in real time, and you can see the consequences unfolding like a map in your mind, even when no one else seems to notice the warning signs. This is the INFJ intuition functioning as pattern recognition, drawing on a vast database of observed human behavior and connecting dots that others miss. It is not psychic ability, though it can feel that way. It is simply a mind that has been paying very close attention to how people work, how systems function, how actions lead to consequences. But this foresight can be isolating. People often do not want to hear predictions that contradict what they want to believe. And so you learn to stay quiet, to watch things unfold exactly as you knew they would, feeling both vindicated and sad that you could not prevent the pain. Ninth, you experience what psychologists call the door slam. For most of your life, you are patient, understanding, willing to give people chance after chance after chance. You make excuses for behavior that hurts you. You try to see the good. You hold space for people's struggles and imperfections. But there comes a moment, often after a long accumulation of small wounds, when something shifts. The door closes, not with anger, not with drama, but with a quiet, final certainty. The person who was once central to your life becomes a stranger. You do not hate them. You simply no longer have space for them in your inner world. This is not cruelty. This is self-preservation. The INFJ personality gives so much, absorbs so much, tries so hard to understand and accommodate, that eventually boundaries must be drawn or you will be consumed. The door slam is what happens when you finally recognize that someone is not capable of the reciprocity, the respect, or the growth that a real relationship requires. It can look cold from the outside, but it is actually the result of deep feeling, of having cared too much for too long without adequate return. 10th, despite all the challenges, you would not trade your sensitivity for anything. Yes, you feel too much. Yes, you think too deeply. Yes, you are often tired, often overwhelmed, often lonely in ways that are hard to explain. But you also experience beauty with an intensity that takes your breath away. You find meaning in moments that others rush past. You create connections that transform lives, including your own. You see the world not just as it is, but as it could be. And that vision, however painful it sometimes is to carry, is also a gift. The INFJ personality is not easy to inhabit, but it is also capable of profound love, of genuine wisdom, of creating change that ripples out in ways you may never fully see. You are the person who remembers what someone said in passing 6 months ago and brings it up at exactly the moment they need to be reminded they are seen. You are the person who asks the question that helps someone finally articulate what they have been struggling to express. You are the person who holds complexity without trying to simplify it, who honors depth in a shallow world, who insists that meaning matters. If you have recognized yourself in these 10 signs, then welcome. You are not broken. You are not too much or too sensitive or too anything. You are simply rare. And rarity comes with its own particular challenges and its own particular gifts. The journey of the INFJ is the journey of learning to honor your own nature without apology, to find others who can meet you in the depths, and to use your sensitivity not as a wound, but as a way of serving the world. I would love to hear your reflections. Have you experienced these signs in your own life? What has your journey of self-discovery as an INFJ or as a deep thinker taught you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story matters, and this community is here to listen and to learn alongside you. And if this conversation has resonated with you, if you would like more explorations of personality, purpose, and the philosophy of self, please subscribe to this channel. This is a space for those of us who refuse to skim the surface, who insist that life is meant to be felt deeply and lived with intention. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your beautiful, complicated, deeply feeling soul. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember that your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a superpower still learning its own strength.